Thank you all for joining us for today's webinar, Looking Back to Grow Forward. My name is Christy Nichols-Quinn, and I am the Sales and Marketing Director with the ABC Expo. And I'm very pleased to be here today and have the opportunity to introduce our speaker, Jefferson Davis, with Competitive Edge. We're coming to the end of the first quarter of this year, and it's time to start thinking about how we're going to work through and make decisions for your next trade shows and upcoming trade shows and conferences for the rest of the year. I'd like to introduce a little bit more about Jefferson. Jefferson is an expert in trade show productivity for exhibitors. During his more than 30 years in the industry, he has exhibited at more than 200 trade shows and provides intensely focused results during his sessions as a speaker, author, trainer, and as a consultant. His E3 team has evaluated over 22,000 exhibits in action and has provided input addressing critical success factors to help each exhibitor generate increased ROI. Jefferson and his team have helped his clients generate over $750 million in positive trade show results. We are thrilled to have Jefferson on board as a valuable member of our team. Please welcome Jefferson Davis.
All right, thank you, Christy, and Larry and everybody at the ABC Kids Expo. You know, I got to be honest, all right, with everybody on this webinar here today. Like all of you, I've exhibited a lot of shows, and I always felt like the only time I heard from the show producer was when they wanted to sell me something, or when they wanted a check, or when they sent me that exhibitor service kit telling me all that stuff that I had to do. So if you exhibit with and are partnered with the ABC Kids Expo team, it's a unique position they take. Their philosophy is we don't want to just rent you concrete, you know, and a booth space, just kind of hope that everything works out. What they want to do is make sure that you've got a game plan, a blueprint, and a roadmap to make the time and the money that you're investing deliver maximum value for your company. And that's a unique position, as you know. There's a lot of shows out there, but there's not many that do really take care of the exhibitors to the point of guiding them, pushing them, pulling them to the path of return on investment. So thanks for being with us here today. And a big part of the commitment is not just the webinars like this, but the online Exhibitor Success and ROI Center. This is really a 24/7, 365 exhibit knowledge portal, and it's brought to you by your friends at ABC Kids Expo. We have both live and replayable webinars on critical topics. We've got downloadable tools like a cost control tool, a 16-week planning tool, a measurement tool, which we're going to talk about today. We've got strategic planning exercises that really help you address critical factors. And at any time when you're on the Exhibitor Success and ROI Center, you can click a button and send an email that comes to me and my team of trade show experts. I have 9 people on my team. Several of them carry the Certified Trade Show Marketer designation. So if you got trade show questions, reach out to us. Free, no charge, no sales pitches. We're totally here for one reason, to make sure that you have the knowledge, the tools, the resources to be an extremely successful exhibitor. So thanks for being with us today for this webinar. And you know, we thought this was a really good time of the year to do this, given that a show just wrapped up in DC, and we're, as Christy said, we're ending the first quarter. It's a really good time to okay, it's the end of the first quarter. Let's go to commercial. The score is, right? And what we're doing, it's working, is this. And what we need to improve is this. So that's what we really want to do today here. So let's talk about an exhibit program. So how do you really know as an exhibitor if your exhibit program is working? Well, I believe there are 2 very clear outcomes that your exhibit program should be delivering. Number 1, visibly and directly supporting your company's core business objectives in the areas of sales, marketing, and customer relationship management. So you might want to ask yourself right now, if you had to score your current exhibiting results on a 1 to 5, right? A 5, very effective. A 1, ineffective, not working. How would you score how well your current exhibit program is supporting? And the second area is value beyond cost. Hey, we know that trade shows are a big investment of both human and financial capital. And if you're doing it right, you absolutely should be getting measurable value far beyond cost. So how are you doing in that area? How well is your exhibit program supporting your core business objectives? And are you getting measurable financial value beyond cost? If it's working, it's doing those two things. Okay. So here's the problem. Okay. The problem is that for most of us as exhibitors, we get caught in what I call the logistics trap. It's like 95% of our pre-show time is spent on logistics and operations. And what I mean by that is rent the space, get the booth, get the graphics, get the products, get the people, ship it and fly them, set it up, tear it down, send it home, do all that on time and on budget, and we call that pre-show planning. I don't call it pre-show planning. I call it dealing with logistics. Now, you have to do that stuff, right? But the only thing living in the logistics trap is going to ensure is that your people, products, and booth show up. And sometimes it doesn't even ensure that, does it? It doesn't really ensure that you're going to get anything from the big investment of time and human capital you're making in trade shows. So I would like to do a quick poll here. I'd like to find out for all of you on the webinar with me today, how many trade shows are you participating at this year? Okay, the poll is live on the screen, and you can see your answers. Click the radio dial button that applies. 1, you only do 1, 2 to 4, 5 to 9, 10 plus shows. I'll give you just a moment here. We're getting fast response. Thank you. I'm going to share the results in a moment. If you haven't polled yet, go ahead and do so now. On 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Let me show the results. So 50% of you are in 2 to 4. 40% of you are in over 10 a year. The more shows you're doing, the higher the odds that you're caught in the logistics trap. Okay, so we want to really make sure that we're spending some time, and I'm going to go over these 5 areas that make the big difference. Now, I just want to ask you one more quick poll question here, since we just completed a show. 1 second. There we go. Did you exhibit at the recent JPMA show in Las Vegas? Yes or I'm sorry, DC, Washington, DC. Yes or no? I'll give you just a moment to poll on that. And let me share the results. Okay, so it looks like 70% of us did. So what a great time to hold this webinar, right? Right after you just came out of a show, so you'll have a chance to kind of take a quick look back. And I'm going to walk you through some very specific things to help you analyze how well you executed and how well the show worked for you. With the big focus, again, the big focus here is how do we make the rest of your show schedule this year deliver maximum value for your company, okay? So we talked about the logistics trap, and the more shows that you're doing, the higher the chance that you're probably caught in that trap. Okay, so where do we need to focus our effort? For 27 years, I have been a consultant trainer. I work with hundreds and hundreds of companies of all sizes and types in about every industry you can imagine. And what I've been on the hunt for is critical success factors. Everybody knows the principle of critical success factors, right? So in business, if you're trying to generate an outcome, a result, there's usually maybe 8 to 10 steps or actions that you have to take. But within those steps or actions, there's a few that are the make or break ones. It's like the Pareto principle. 20% of your actions will be accountable for 80% of the result. And so what I've been trying to really figure out, for the last 27 years is what are those critical success factors. And now that I've been involved in the generation of, now we're pushing almost $800 million in trade show results, I think we have a good idea what they are. So you'll see them on the screen right now. So number one, define your outcomes. Number two, use the principle of selective attraction. Number three, manage the visitor experience. Number four, manage your leads. And number five, measure your performance, how well you executed, and the results that you achieved. So let me add some color to these success factors. So when we talk about defining your outcomes, maybe you read Stephen Covey's amazing book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Habit number one is be proactive, not reactive, proactive. Habit number two, begin with the end in mind. That's what I'm talking about. So defining your outcomes, meaning you setting down and looking down the line, not just at closing time, but 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year after the show, and reaching out and defining what success looks like for you in the areas of sales, marketing, and customer relationship management. And then creating clear, specific, measurable goals, workable action plans, and executing around a well-designed plan. In this concept of planning, right? So if you were trying to build a house, right, and you just went out and you found a lot and you backed your truck up and you had a bunch of wood and some cement blocks and you just threw them out there and started putting stuff together, and somebody walked up to you and said, "What are you doing?" And your answer is, "I'm building a house." And they ask you, "Where's your blueprints?" And you say, "Blueprints?" They would take you off to a safe place. Okay, you would never try to build a house without blueprints. It's the same thing with trade shows. If you don't have a well thought through set of blueprints to help you guide the construction and the finish of your trade show program, you're going to struggle. So that's what we mean by defining your outcomes. It's the process I call exhibiting by objectives. I think there's only 2 ways to exhibit. You either exhibit by objectives or you exhibit by hope. And if you're not getting what you can and should be getting from shows, and you wonder where to start here. Define your outcomes, create workable action plans. Okay, and when you exhibit with ABC, we've got an incredible amount of tools on the Success and ROI Center, planning exercises, program management tools, webinars addressing all 5, downloadable articles. It's the closest thing to giving you your toolkit, and that's one of the big and great benefits of working with a great team like ABC is, again, we don't just rent you concrete and hope this works out. So number 2, selective attraction. Okay, so here's the idea with selective attraction. Trade shows are about face and next. You have a limited or a finite amount of capacity for face-to-face interaction. So in using selective attraction, you have to realize not everybody attending the show is your target visitor. So we have to define who are the most important people. And then you've got to come up with a good value proposition. There might be, like the spring conference, there might be 110, 120 companies. At the ABC Fall Expo, there would be 600, 700, 800, and not all those, they're not going to visit all those booths, right? They're not going to walk in and engage with every booth. So what we got to figure out for you is, why should they visit you? You have got to create a value proposition that cuts through the noise, that grabs the attention of your target visitor and puts your company in their mind and on their agenda. If you do that, it's the equivalent of winning the game before kickoff. It's walking onto the field knowing that you've already won the game. And I don't know if you've ever experienced that before at a show, but I'm telling you, it is an amazing feeling to walk into a show with 70, 80% of your interaction capacity spoken for before you ever hit the floor. If you want to slant the exhibit hall toward your booth, that's how you do it, right? Selective attraction. Okay, number 3, manage the visitor experience. You have to stand outside of your booth and look at it through the eyes of an attendee and the eyes of a buyer. And you've got to think very carefully about how you're staging or presenting your products and your services. And you have to think super carefully about your staff. Who is staffing that booth? And do they have the skill set, the attitudes, the behaviors, and the skills to be effective in that environment? The end game of managing the visitor experience is interactive, quality experience that gets the visitor to commit to a clear next action. Number 3. Number 4, lead management. Whatever orders you write on the show floor are the low-hanging fruit. What you can get over time, if you really understand this whole concept of lead management, can blow your mind. So we got to think through what criteria do you need to elicit and capture to actually qualify an opportunity. You got to develop a questioning process, train your booth staff on asking the right questions, create a capture tool or device, and then, of course, follow up on your leads. Number 4, number 5, measurement and learning. What gets measured gets done. What gets measured gets improved. What gets measured can make you an absolute hero in your company. So we got to come up with a set of performance metrics. How well did you execute your exhibit? And then a set of value metrics. Where and how did you get value from the time and the money you invested? And we have to learn. If you're doing this right, those of you that said you're doing 10 shows per year plus, if you're doing each show the same way, the same time, you're not growing. You should be getting better and better at every show. You should be walking out off of every show floor with at least 3 specific things that you're going to improve for your next show, right? Because imagine the improvement you can make over a 10-show run if you're finding 3 things, and Kaizen, the art of small changes, making big differences. These don't have to be huge things. They can be little things, which we'll talk about in the webinar here. So here's the promise, and here's the warning. The promise, you do these 5 things, you will win at every show you do. If you neglect, skip, or avoid any combination of these, you're going to limit your results. Okay, so warning, promise. Promise, do these 5, win. Warning, skip, avoid, neglect, you're going to struggle. You never have to struggle again after today. You know the 5 areas you need to spend more time and more thought and better execution around. All right, so here we go. 70% of you were in the JPMA show recently. The other 30%, maybe you've been at some show in the first quarter. These are the 10 questions that I would have you ask and answer to see how well you executed. Number 1, did you have specific goals? And did you achieve them? Here's the problem with goals. Number 1, according to the latest research, only 1 out of 4 exhibitors actually have clear written goals. 3 out of 4 have reasons. Like if I were to ask you, why are you exhibiting? I know you can tell me. You would give me your reasons. Here's the thing. Until you take a vague reason and convert it to a specific goal, it is not going to give you the focus, the clarity, the power to make it happen. So as you look back, the 70% of you were in the recent show. Did you have clear goals or did you just have reasons? You know what we need to do with this. Number 2, did you clearly define who your target visitor was? And did you execute a well-designed pre and at show marketing campaign to get on their agenda? Okay? In their mind, on their agenda. This is selective attraction. Number 3, did you have enough booth traffic? Did you interact with enough attendees? Now, you might be asking yourself right now, how much is enough? I'm going to show you that in a moment. I'm going to have you do an exercise here in a moment. But that'll be a major post-show question. Did you not only attract with enough attendees, but were they the right attendees? 4, how about your exhibit? Was it effectively designed? Did it demand attention? Did it visually answer the 3 questions that are in the mind of attendees, which are what, why, and who? Jot those down. What do you do? Why should I care? Who are you? And that's the flow, by the way. When a buyer is walking down the aisles at a show, they're trying to determine where to focus their attention. Job 1 is to get them to look. They can't process your booth if they don't see it. And you might think just because you have a booth in the aisle that everybody looks at it. They don't. You ever want proof? Stand 2 booths down from yours and ask people in the aisles if they noticed and if they know what you do. You might not be too happy with the answers. Okay? So you got to make sure your exhibit is really well designed. And one of the things we do at the ABC Kids Expo is we do for exhibitors a exhibit effectiveness evaluation, where myself or one of my 9 experienced members visits your booth in action and does a 21-point expert evaluation. We give you pictures, comments, scoring. Here's what's working, keep doing it. Here's your blind spots and how to fix them. Ain't many shows you know that do that, right? That's a very, very unique thing. So number 5, did you kind of stage your products in a way that made it easy for attendees to find? One big mistake I see with a lot of booths, they put way too much stuff in there. Way too much stuff. Here's a phrase. Write this down. Less is more. Less is more. I'm going to talk in a moment about some things that I think you need to be thinking about with your exhibit to make it even better. Okay, so we're halfway through these 10 post-show questions that I think you should capture and ask shortly after every show you do from this day forward, because these will help you create that continual and never-ending improvement process. Number 6, did you recreate how your products should be merchandised at the point of sale? If you have point of sale support, was it presented and staged in the booth? Retailers love to see how the products should be staged and merchandised in the store. You know, they're trying to determine how much space does this take and how do I merchandise this so I get turn, right? So the product is turning and they're making money. Number 7, your booth staff. Have they ever received any form of skills training? Are they effective at actually managing interactions in this crazy environment we call a trade show? Can they balance efficiency with effectiveness? Your people are going to make or break your success at trade shows. Number 8, if you're trying to write business at the show, did you really craft a irresistible sales offer? One that made it so easy for buyers to make a decision and write an order. A lot of work, a lot of area for improvement there. I mean, if you're looking for the low-hanging fruit, got to make it easy. Got to make it easy for them, right? Number 9, Were you looking past just the ad show sales? Did you have a lead qualification process in play? Did you have a capture device? Or were you just taking business cards, right? Number 10, are you positioned, or did you achieve measurable return on investment? These are 10 jugular questions that any exhibitor who's serious about making trade shows pay off is going to ask and answer from every show until they have all 10 of them handled. Because if you have these 10 handled, you're going to win. But if you don't, then you're going to struggle. Okay, so those 10 questions. My recommendation is, if you haven't done so already, given that you just got out of a show, most of you, get your team together and go through these questions. Be honest, right? Be honest. Be truthful, right? Nobody's perfect. And I'm not sure there will ever come a day, and myself included, I'm not a perfect exhibitor. And I know this stuff, right? And I still make mistakes when I exhibit, but I'm trying to get better and better and better at every show, right? I don't want to be the guy that said, hey, you should have seen his exhibit when he was really good, right? You should have seen his exhibit 4 years ago when he was really good. I want to be the guy that they say, hey, you should have seen his exhibit 4 years ago when it was really good, but you should see it now, right? I mean, he is on his game, right? He is studying and learning and improving, and he has the kind of exhibit that when buyers walk into it, they tell other buyers around the show. They go, hey, have you been over there to Jefferson's booth yet? You haven't, dude, you got to go check it out. That's the kind of booth I want. That's the kind of booth I hope you want too. Okay? All right. And here we go. Here's my bonus question, like your baker's dozen, if you will. What are the top 3 things that you learned that are going to help you get better at your next show? Capture it. Capture the top 3 things. And if you only did that, for those of you who said you're doing 10 or more shows a year, that would be 30 improvements over a year. Imagine what your exhibit program would look like with 30 specific incremental improvements over time. The results will blow your mind. Absolutely blow your mind. All right, so grab your pen, grab a calculator here. I'm going to walk you through a formula on how you can actually predict your activity level and your results with pretty amazingly accuracy. Okay, now I do want to say this, that this is a formula. And by the way, it's the same formula I use with my clients. When we're exhibiting, we go through these numbers, but it is not a guarantee of performance. There's a lot of variables that can impact any one of these. One of them is how accurate the numbers you use. And number 2 is your product, is it, the salability, how well you market to drive booth traffic, all the things, those 5 critical factors we talked about. So let's do this together quickly. Grab your pen. Ready? So the ABC Kids Expo has 26 exhibiting hours. That is your playing field. We're not including the golden hours in the morning before the exhibit opens and the entertaining hours in the evening. That's the icing on the cake. I want you to be able to win the game from within your booth, and anything that happens outside the booth is the icing on the cake, right? Now, here's the next question. How many people are going to be standing in your booth on average during those 26 hours to talk to buyers? Jot your number down. Staffing rule of thumb, 50 square feet per staffer. If you have a single inline booth, you have the space for 2, maybe 3. You put 4 of your staff in a 10 by 10 booth and you're going to have a huge problem. You know what it's called? No space for buyers. It's also going to be called an intimidating space to walk into, right? Now, listen carefully to this next variable. Target number of interactions per hour per staffer. Here's the range. 3 conservative, 4 moderate, 5 aggressive. I want you to pick a number between 3 to 5. That means each booth staffer in your booth will stand face to face on an average hour with this many people. And now you have got what we call your exhibit interaction capacity. And this is exciting, and it makes your life so much easier. You know why? For you to win the game, it doesn't matter if the show has 3,000 attendees, 9,000 attendees, 30,000 attendees. It doesn't matter. We get all caught up in those numbers as exhibitors. We go, oh man, the show, it either has a lot and we get overexcited, or we don't think it has enough because it only had this many. And yet when you come to realize this is all you can handle, if you don't like the number, change the variables. Can you change the number of staff? Within reason. Can you change the number of hours in the show? Not really. No, they're fixed, right? Can you change the number of interactions per hour per staffer? Yeah. Staff training, well-designed booth, good pre-show marketing campaign, you bet. But you know your magic number. For you to win the game, if you're in the mind and on the agenda of the best 156 people before you get to the show, you've won the game before kickoff. You really have. Okay, now let's take it a few steps further here. Some percentage of those interactions will convert to an opportunity or a lead. The benchmark is 1 out of 4. 1 out of 4 attendees convert to a lead or an opportunity. So therefore, you would have a lead goal of 39 qualified leads by closing time. Now, if you will take either your minimum order size, your average sale amount, or even the value of a customer, whichever one you want to use. I'm just going to use a conservative one like 2,000. So now the potential lead value for you, $78,000. Now, some percentage of your interactions, and that would be interactions and or leads, are going to convert to business, convert to an order. What's the benchmark? 20%, 2 out of 10, right? So in this example, I would have 32 orders. Maybe those are at the show, maybe they're at end post. My minimum or my average order amount of $2,000, and my potential sales opportunity here is $64,000 in sales orders and $78,000 in potential lead value. That's 100 and how much is that? 142,000. I'm not great with the math. Let me see. 78 plus 64 is what? Yeah, it's $142,000. So if you invested $10,000 in the show, and 6 months down the road, you could track $142,000 back. That's return on investment. Okay, so you may have questions as we work through this. And remember, at any time, go to your question queue, type it in, and press send. But this is the formula. If the numbers you use are accurate, this formula is amazingly accurate. So accuracy in your numbers is critical. Okay. So any questions on the formula, go ahead and submit those. It'll be a good time. I know I'm throwing a lot at you quick here. So far, we've talked about what? 5 critical success factors. We've given you 10 questions, 11 really, to kind of take a look back and see how well you did and where your blind spots were. And now we've given you a formula to look forward and begin to use math and science to predict your outcomes. Okay? So this is a really good time. It looks like some questions are coming in. The first question is, how did I calculate the number of sales orders? I took the number of interactions and I multiplied it by 0.2, 2 out of 10 converting to business, which, by the way, is based on a industry study on the number of interactions and leads that convert to sales. On average, it's 2 out of 10. Yours may be higher. Yours could be lower. I hope it's not lower. But on average, it's 20%. Okay? 20% of interactions convert. Not everybody. The better job you do using selective attraction, the higher the conversion. Okay? All right, thank you for the question. And hey, keep firing away with questions here. Remember, there's no such thing as a dumb question, right? Okay, so I've referenced this phrase multiple times, and now I want to take you a little deeper dive here. Winning the game before kickoff. Okay? Targeted pre and at show marketing. In the mind, on the agenda, of enough of the right people. You got to spend a little bit of time coming up with your value proposition. If there's 100, if there's 300, if there's 600, if there's 1,000 exhibiting companies at the show, why should they visit you? And if you say quality and price and service, those are platitudes. They're like water on the back of a duck. They just run right off. Why? Everybody says it. So that's not enough. If you say, oh, we got good quality products at competitive pricing with great service, it's like, you know, you're talking to a deaf person. Those are platitudes, right? You got to craft time and find your value proposition. Out of all those booths, why should you visit us? The buyer is asking themselves, what's in it for me? Why should I care? What makes you different? What is your unique selling proposition? You know what? I already sell what you're trying to offer me. Why should I care about yours? You better be able to answer those questions. Those are the questions in the mind of the buyer. And then once you get your value proposition, you deliver it through as many marketing channels, all the stuff you can do internally, email, direct mail, social media, your website, your sales team, and then work with the show organizer, work with the team at ABC, look at the exhibitor marketing ops they have available, use the ones that fit your budget and support your goals. 8 out of 10 exhibitors, write this down, 80% of exhibitors do little or no pre-show marketing. I learned years ago that if you want to succeed, it's not that hard to do. Just find out what the unsuccessful are doing, the 80%, and don't do that, right? On the other hand, if you want to succeed, find out what successful exhibitors are doing, the 20% who are promoting, and do that. Success is not an accident, right? Success is not mystical and magical. It comes down to good, solid fundamentals and addressing the critical factors. And this is one every exhibitor on this webinar, every exhibitor in almost every show is not doing enough. In fact, of all the 5 factors, I would argue this may be one of the most important ones. I don't know if you guys know, but the average attendee at a trade show stops and visits 26 to 31 exhibits, and half of those stops are pre-planned. If you don't believe that pre-marketing your exhibit is important before this, I hope you get that message now. It's the easiest way to win, okay? And so combine both in-house media and show marketing ops. All right, let's talk a little bit about your exhibit. I think 3 tweaks, adjustments, fine-tunes if you really want to sell to retailers. Number 1, think and exhibit like a retailer. You ever notice when you walk in a grocery store, the produce is always up front on the right side of the store? You ever notice that the dairy, the eggs and the milk and the butter and the yogurt and all that stuff is in the far left of the corner, back of the store? Do you think that's an accident? Do you think that that just happened to be like that? No, there's science behind that. They know exactly what they're doing. And when you get near those retail shelves, what is placed on the shelf, where it's placed on the shelf, the art and science of retail has data and all kinds of stuff. They know, right, exactly where to place, how much to place, how much, everything. So you should absolutely be thinking of your exhibit exactly like a retailer thinks about their store. And remember this, if you throw a big old table across the front of your booth and you leave that buyer standing out looking in your window, key phrase, window shoppers rarely buy. Why would you leave them outside of your store? Why would you do that, right? Not thinking like a retailer. You know, retailers really respect and want to do business with people that really understand their world. Think like a retailer. Second, don't be vague, right? Clarity is power. You know, many of you have products that, few of you have products that have 0 competitors. Maybe some of you have some brand new things you've just brought out, but for the most part, they can buy what you sell from other sources. So you have to clearly visually, interactively present and demonstrate what makes your product different, right? They're desperately searching for your point of difference. They want to know what makes it saleable. Why are parents buying this for their children, right? How is it selling in stores? Who else is selling it? How are they doing? What do you do to help me sell it, right? Why is it a good fit for their store? How does it either add to my merchandising mix or help me address a gap in my merchandising mix? Or what product or service, if someone buys, makes this the add-on? And also, what do they buy after they buy your product? The more you understand this stuff, the easier you're going to communicate with retailers and the more business customers you're going to get. Make it easy to do business with you, okay? Make it easy. Show specials. Give careful thought to coming up with a irresistible show special, right? Think about your terms of business. Things like your minimum orders, things like your FOB, things like your payment terms, how long, shipping, all that stuff. Are your terms of business making it easier or making it hard? And who are you trying to protect more in your terms, yourself or the retailer? There's a principle I learned years ago called risk reversal. Every time someone makes a buying decision, somebody's being asked to take a risk. Usually it's the buyer. If you can find a way to put that risk on you, if you got a great product and you believe in it and you know it sells, make a bold risk reversal. Hey, if this product does not turn in your stores within 45 days, we will replace it with something else or buy it back, right? If you want to really knock your competition out of the game, take away the risk. Take away the risk, because what's the biggest fear of a retailer? I'm going to buy this stuff. I'm going to put it on my shelf. It's going to sit there for months. It's never going to sell. I'm going to have to close it out on the sidewalk, right? You take the risk, right? And I know some of you are going, Jefferson, I'm afraid to do that. Hey, I do it in my business. For 27 years as a consultant, I put 100% money back guarantee on my services. Now, why do you think I do that? Here's two reasons. Number one, none of my competitors do it. And when I'm competing, when I go, well, let me ask you, is this guy or gal willing to back up their services with a money-back guarantee? Wow, I'm like a shining star. The other thing is I believe in what I do, and I also know I'm going to do whatever it takes to make you succeed. So I want you to think about, is it possible for you to start bringing risk reversal into your sales offer to make it easy to do business with you? Here's the greatest closing question you could ever use at a show. Hey, John, does this look like it might be a good fit for your customer base and your merchandising mix? Yeah, it sure does. Why don't you give it a try? Why don't you give it a try? A try, right? I'm not asking for the mortgage on your house or your firstborn here, right? And if I've got strong risk reversal, wow, I have really brought down the walls of making it easy to get started, okay? So some things to think about if you're selling to retailers, right? All right, let's talk about leads here. Grab more than the low-hanging fruit, okay? Clarity of and commitment to the next step are critical. And this is how you improve your lead quality. It's not just about the orders you get, it's about what happens next. So you want to work through closed loop lead management, high quality leads, move them quickly to the right person, follow up fast and for as long as it takes, and make it easy for the person receiving the lead to report back to you what became of the lead, how are you progressing, what was the ultimate conversion of the lead, right? Define what is, what isn't. I tell you, you throw a fishbowl with some business cards in it, that's not a lead, right? If you're just using a badge scanner and just randomly scanning anybody's badge, that's not a lead. Tell you what a lead is: personal interaction, questions asked, answers documented, next step identified and agreed to by the visitor. That's a lead. Give me 50 of those, I'll convert 15 to 25 of those to business. Give me 500 business cards in a fishbowl, I'll be lucky to convert one. So how do you want to do this? You want to do it hard way or easy way? Think about what information you need to capture to truly qualify a lead beyond the basics of name, address, phone, fax, email, but what else do you need to capture, all right? And customize your capture device to make sure you get this information. In fact, I'm showing you on the screen right now how to create what I would call a opportunity card by designing it in the natural flow of conversation, asking front-end understanding questions. Tell me about your business, who your customer base is, what merchandise are you currently carrying, what gaps, whatever the questions are, right? And then on the back end are your harder qualifiers, but capture, capture, capture. Confucius said it well. He said the palest ink is better than the best memory. So now if you're running like an electronic device, you can use this same flow here I've laid out for you to design your information capture flow. And by the way, this is the natural flow of conversation too. So feel free to use this as a template, as a guide. And we have a lot of content like this up on the ABC Kids Expos, ESRC. Okay, final piece, and we're running a few minutes behind. I apologize here. Let me go through this quickly. I'll hit the high notes on these. Remember I said you need some ways to measure both your performance and your execution? Here we go. Okay, you already know the exhibit interaction capacity because you ran that. What I want you to track, I want you to compare your capacity to your utilization. That's going to tell you how well you executed your booth. If you didn't use all your capacity, now you got to look under the hood. What happened here? Was there not enough traffic at the show, not enough in the hall, not enough at my booth? Did I not do a good pre-marketing? Was my booth not well designed? Was my staff being passive, right? Your cost per interaction. Remember, trade shows are about face. There is a cost to generating face-to-face contact. Take your total show investment, divide it by the actual number of interactions, and you have your cost per interaction. Okay, now, is that good? Is it bad? Is it high? Is it low? Well, average cost of a field sales call in North America, $596. You're generating it at the ABC Kids Expo for $87? I don't know. Are you getting value? I think. Cost per lead. Very important you measure cost per lead. Total show investment divided by number of lead captures gives you your cost per lead. Average cost of a trade show lead in North America, $283. $283. So you're doing good, but I tell you what else I would compare that to. Either the average sale amount or the 1-year value or the lifetime value of a customer to make sure that my lead acquisition cost isn't too high, right? Potential revenue value of leads. You captured 39 leads. Your average sale amount's $2,000. You generated $142,000 of potential revenue for your company. Divide that by your show investment and look what you have. Dollar in generated $14.20 of potential revenue. That's a 14-to-1 soft dollar payback. And ROI does come in two forms. It comes in revenue and it comes in value, right? Value that you can quantify. So here's a couple examples. If you're going to use top line revenue, take your total revenue, both your at and your post-show sales, and divide it by, first back out your exhibiting investment. Now you've got your top line revenue, okay, divide it by the exhibiting investment, and $1 in generated $13.20 of top line revenue ROI. Soft dollar ROI, value. Let's use cost per interaction. You invested $10,000 in the show. You had 115 interactions. Your cost per interaction was $87. When you compare that to the cost of a field sales call and you cut the cost by over $500. You did that 115 times. That is a big time return on investment. Look at that. $100,000 soft dollar. Now, you can't put this in the bank, soft dollar, right? But it is value that you received that you can quantify and express in numeric terms. Because I would argue, what would be the cost for you to create 115 buyer interactions out in the field? If you had to go visit them at their store, how much would that cost you? Well, the North American B2B average is $596. Okay. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here. I've run a few minutes behind. I am hopeful that everybody on this webinar here got some new ideas, got some inspiration, some motivation, right, and some tools that you can start using to learn from your most recent experience, better plan for your next experience. My dream, my hope, my wish, my vision for every one of you is that every dollar and every hour that you invest in trade shows delivers massive value, both hard and soft dollar return on investment. Because I'm going to close with a real strong statement here. Whatever you're getting from trade shows now, the odds are high you're only picking the low-hanging fruit. What you can get over time will blow your mind. And I'm hopeful there will come a day in the very near future for you that you look back and go, what a difference a trade show like the ABC Kids Expo can make for my business. What a difference it made for my business. That's what Larry, that's what everybody on the team wants for you. And that's why they invested time and money in this webinar, because they care, right? They don't just rent you concrete and hope this all works out. Okay, so I'm going to give you another chance to submit any questions you might have. And while I do that, I'm going to toss it back to the ABC team just for any closing thoughts or additional comments.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jefferson. I really appreciate you sharing all of your knowledge and helping us learn how to calculate some of these things. This is great information. Guys, I just want to let you know that we do have our ABC Expo team here along with Jefferson to answer any more questions you have. So please submit them now, and we will answer them as we can.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, you know, and I'm not seeing any questions at this point, but here's the thing. This webinar is not an end. It's a beginning. So you can reach me through the ABC Kids Expo Exhibitor Success and ROI Center. And of course, you can reach the ABC Kids Expo at any time. Pick up the phone and call them. They really, really care about your success. They want to help you grow your business. They want to do so much more than just rent you concrete. So on behalf of everyone at ABC Kids Expo, myself here, thanks for logging in. Hopefully you'll be joining us at the upcoming spring and for the fall expo. And most importantly, best wishes for extremely profitable exhibit. Thanks for logging in, everybody. This concludes our Looking Back to Grow Forward webinar.